Let's do that. Morning, geeks! How you doing? Jeffrey Powers here with Geekazine.com. Welcome to the show where we talk about geek. We look at geek, we feel geek, and we are geek. I've got my Alcatraz hat on, I've got my Start Code Push shirt on, and I want to wish you guys a happy Opium Suppression Movement Day. Happy Opium Suppression Movement Day. We're going to talk about that in a minute and kind of a cool video with that. So, also happy Mambo Day in Australia. Everybody Mambo. It's been a great week. Of course, I was in San Francisco last week, hence the hat. Mostly because, you know, I have a skin condition and I needed to protect myself and I didn't bring a hat with me. So I had to go get a hat. That is the Alcatraz hat. And it was pretty cool. It was a great week. Had a lot of fun. I'm going to talk about that in a second. First of all, I want to let you know, hey, everything's over at Geekazine. Think magazine, put in the geek. You got Geekazine over at geekazine.com. Let's go over to the webpage. There we are. And so, yeah, you can check that out. Of course, I've got a blog post about the trip, including the 360 videos that I took on my my Kodak Pix Pro SP 360, and it was including the cross over the bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and then of course going to the Museum Mécanique and the House of Mirrors at Pier 39. I can't think of the name of the of it, but it's basically just this House of Mirrors, and we took the 360 camera in there and we walked around. It was really sweet. So posted that up online, and so you can check that all out over at geekazine.com. So I think I fixed the problem with the latency. If some of you watch this show after the fact, you would see like this 10-second audio to video latency, and it really boiled down to where I was actually producing the live video from. If it was coming from the program that I'm using to push to Facebook, or if it was coming from Facebook. My friend Steven, who also works at Telestream, it showed me how to do this and actually record through Facebook rather through the program to reduce those problems. So hopefully we've got that all resolved. Hopefully everything looks good. We've got a few people on. Thank you very much for joining us on this wee morning, hours of the morning. It's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:30 Central Time, and 5:30 in the morning Pacific Time if you're watching from that side of town. So anyway, let's see. We've got, like I said, go to geekazine.com. Like I said, I was in San Francisco. I got a couple of videos. I got to show you these videos. We were at the Edward Zielinski's Museum Mécanique, which is on Pier 39, which is basically it's promoted as an arcade. And I was thinking, oh, cool! I get to see video games like Pac-Man to Asteroids and all that other stuff, and pinball machines. I'm a big pinball fan, so I want to play a lot of pinball. But we walked in, and it turned out to be something a little bit more. And I learned a little bit about this. Edward Zielinski started collecting arcade machines for a long time, and he found some really unique ones. And that's what this warehouse or pier warehouse, whatever you want to call it, is filled with. I mean, you do have Pac-Man in there, and you do have things like, you know, like air hockey and stuff like that, but you also have these older machines that I've never seen before. Some are very interesting. You know, where you put the quarter in and then you turn the thing and like it flips cards to make it look like a movie. They had a lot of those. They had these working scenes that you would probably see at a fair of some sort, maybe a World's Fair or a county fair or something like that. So you probably put a penny in at the time, and then you'd watch things move around like a carousel or kids running around, a train going around. And that's what this first one is. This is the this is the Toothpick Town Carnival, and we'll check it out right here.
Doesn't look like the roller coaster's working. Get the little train. looks a little newer than the time.
Like riding a little.
Those are all toothpicks. I think that's all. Oh yeah, there's water in there.
Oh yeah, water. Little
And then it gets a little bit more interesting than that. We saw a lot of those. We saw like Santa's Workshop and stuff like that. Saw some really interesting stuff. French Execution, where you could actually watch somebody get their head chopped off. That was pretty cool. But this has to be by far the geekiest and the most disturbing arcade game I've ever seen. And it's a really old game. And it actually falls in line with Opium Suppression Movement Day. So happy Opium Suppression Movement Day. This one is called Opium Den.
Here's the Opium Den. It's only a quarter to play. Here we go. What the heck is that? It's like a little snake or something. Oh, there's somebody coming from the side. Oh! Here comes the opium. Here comes the opium. Look at the guy in the back. Oh man, that guy is just completely wasted. Oh man, how come they didn't have these things in my day? I would have played this forever. That was the Opium Den.
That was Opium Den, and I was probably one of the strangest ones I've ever seen. We got to see some really, really old arcades, including one of the first video arcades, our video viewers, which basically was a series of mirrors and a picture, and it turned out to be a girl jumping rope. And of course, if you moved around, it moved with you, so it was a little bit of a VR experience, which was pretty cool. So if you think of virtual reality as 21st century, in all reality, it's over 100 years old in the technology. So it's just different thoughts back then as opposed to now. Everything's digital, where there it was a bunch of pictures moving, because basically they had pictures of the girl, several slides, and then was going one way, and then the mirror was going the other way to give it that look that she was actually jumping rope freely on her own. So amazing stuff. If you got a chance to go over to Pier 39 in San Francisco, go check it out. It's the Musée and now in English, the Musée Mécanique. And I was really impressed. And when we go back to San Francisco, I'm definitely going to spend a little bit more time taking a look at that area, because I'm a big fan of arcade stuff, and I can't get enough of it. So it was amazing. But anyway, you didn't come here to learn about opium dens. Well, you kind of did, but you came here to learn about geeky stuff. And we're gonna do, let's get into the geeky news of the week. That was me doing that. So anyway, let's move on here. If you were planning on making your own city scanner drone like the one in Half-Life, well, someone's kind of beating you to it. His name is Velpushka, Russian, of course. He took the challenge to success with this this basic city scanner drone. It's got a front panel that moves around, and it's got authentic sounds. They've got some video up there that you can take a look at to see how it works, how it all goes, and figure out, I can do better than that. And if you can do better than that, let me know. Send me some video of you doing better than that over at Geekazine, and give me permission to use it, and we'll put it on Morning Geeks, which of course we do every single Friday morning. Let's move on from there. Imagine spending all of your time working on a Lego sculpture. Oh, that was the, let me do that. There we go. Imagine spending all your time working on a Lego sculpture, not to mention $15,000, and have a 4-year-old destroy it within seconds. That's what happened this week. The Zootopia Fox character Nick Wilde, he's a fox, and he just basically was just unveiled when a kid, about a 4-year-old kid, just really didn't read that, hey, do not touch sign. And of course, he wanted to meet this movie star. He was starstruck, so he came and he ended up pushing it over. Now, Zhao said he was upset that the creation was destroyed within seconds, but, you know, he wasn't too upset with a child because, you know, he doesn't really know how to read. And actually, if you think about it from the child's perspective, a big fox that comes crumbling down like the Empire State Building on Independence Day kind of brings a little bit of trauma. And, you know, the kid's kind of thinking, I'm 4 years old and I just killed Nick Wilde. Oh my goodness. So if you put it in that perspective, you know, the kid doesn't know any better, and now he's just done something that's freaking him out. So hopefully everything will get resolved. See, that's how that works. He probably has some insurance on that. If not, he starts over, makes another Nick Wilde, goes from there. It took him some time to do it, so he'll do it again. And of course, he's got a lot of notoriety on the interwebs because of that situation. It's not the first time that a Lego sculpture has been destroyed like that, but this one is most notably and most recent. So let's move on. The biggest problem with a gaming laptop is really heat from the packed computer. ASUS has solved that with a detachable water-cooled GX700, which they came out with last year. They're doubling down on this with what's called the GX800, which has 2 power supplies and a mechanical keyboard. That big wart at the end is the water cooling system for the laptop, so you can overclock the crap out of this machine. No specifics on the 800 just yet. The GX700 started at about $3,273, so I'd expect the GX800 to cost around that same price range as well. Robert Kirkman has spoke out about what HBO is doing for Game of Thrones, as we're still trying to get over Hodor's final scene. Kirkman has queried why the TV show is starting to spoil the aspects of the book. Spoilers are for A Song of Ice and Fire, which is a series that has not been fully released just yet. And while Kirkman also writes a tandem for his show, The Walking Dead, he has enough comic content where he'll never catch up to the comic with the show. And if he does, they can always just throw a twist or turn in and do flashback episode or something like that. It kind of makes sense, but you know, for people that don't read the books, it really doesn't matter to them. For the people that do read the books, you know, they're gonna have to wait, or you know, completely not deal with Facebook or whatever social networks when Game of Thrones comes out. So and once these books come out, then he can go from there. But it does make a little bit of sense as why if you can put it out at the same time of the book, you know, maybe the book the Tuesday before and then the show, or the show and the book at the same day, that'd be great. But you know, it's they show Game of Thrones on a Sunday, so you know, you'd have to have the books ready on Sunday. It makes sense for that, and you don't want to spoil one or spoil the other, but one of them is going to spoil the other, and that's how that works. So let's move on from there. Could the blind start seeing like Neo from The Matrix or Daredevil? It's not the first time we've heard how people can build a binaural picture. That's where you use your ears and your stereo binaural sound to actually create pictures. But the documentary called Notes on Blindness will record people who lose their sight and regain awareness to rebuild the sense. They're using VR. They're trying to build an image with the sounds that come out of it. A car honking on the left, a whistle from the breeze on the slight right actually fills in all the gaps for people to actually create a mental picture. And that's what this is all about. We got this over on geek.com. You can check it out right there. Finally, the last one. This is to create how sound looks. The film debuted at Sundance and will be released on July 1st in the UK and the US later in the year. There's a video short available online as well. Finally, a Taiwanese woman is getting famous for her feet. Before you start going, ew, The university student has an interesting issue with her toes as they're as long as her fingers. The second toe measures about 5 centimeters in length with 2 joints. And now she posted on DC Card with pictures comparing her feet to her hands. She says that her parents also have long toes. One photo shows her crossing her toes like you would your fingers, interlocking them, that is. One photo shows, the other photos show her measuring her toes, and then of course comparing her hand with her feet. She's about 4'11", and those longer. Let me say that again. She's about 4'11", so those longer feet will help her keep stable during the day. And if you want to check that out, we've got that over on dailymail.com. Of course, just check the internet. It's going to be all over there today. And if you don't like feet, then you might want to stay away from the toes. So, and yeah, we can go from there. Going surfing as we get new to this week. You know, I'm a fan of the Turtles. I really am. In the 90s, I had a drum set stickered with the Turtles all over it. Don't believe me? Well, here's the drum head I made something like 26 years ago. So, 26 years later, do you think they'll finally have a chance to make a good movie? Out of the Shadows costs $135 million to produce, $10 million more than the 2014 flop, but Rotten Tomatoes fans aren't expecting much as they are rating it 4.6 out of 10. We'll see if Cowabunga Dude comes back. Maybe it's more of an abbreviated thing since the word's too long and we're in the millennial generation. How about CBD? Another movie franchise that doesn't seem to want to get started is The Fantastic Four. It's reported that producer Simon Kinberg told the podcast Happy, Sad, Confused that Fox is still going to try it for another movie instead of tucking their tail and giving it back to Marvel like Sony did with Spider-Man. He says he knows what went wrong to this movie and can fix it in the next. At least Michael B. Jordan knows how to move on as he landed the role of Black Panther in the upcoming movie set to release in 2018. While you wait for the last night, you'll be able to build your own Transformer Wars to wage on your iOS or Android device. Hasbro and Backflip Studios along with Space Ape Games released Transformers Earth Wars for your entertainment. The strategy-based building game allows you to be the Autobots or Decepticons as you build your base to defend from other players attacking as the opposite team. The game offers story-based and multiplayer games. Zootopia gets a DVD release on Tuesday. I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things from others. This will probably be seen 10 times when I go to visit my family-in-law this summer. Lots of bonus features, too. The Martian also gets a Blu Ray release next Tuesday as we once again save Matt Damon from peril. It turns this into its own franchise. People can start hosting Save Matt Damon parties with movies like this, Saving Private Ryan, Courage Under Fire, and more. Next, he will be rebooting a true story as he is Baby Jessica in Saving the Baby in the Well. And that is new to this week. Finally, Deadpool has been a smash hit for a couple months now. Not only is it a great display of a more realistic superhero movie, but an unsanitized version, which a lot of us really want. One that almost didn't get made, and that would have been the saddest part of them all because it opened up a lot of eyes. Deadpool did something that no other superhero movie did. Open the eyes of some movie makers, and as the audience say, hey, we want to have an adult-themed movie or TV show. Now, other R-rated movies are in the works, and hopefully they'll live up to what Deadpool has offered us right now. First of all, we must explore the reasons why most of these superhero movies are so sterile. Of course, the biggest part being the kids. We don't want our 8-year-old kids saying the F word randomly or talking about their baby hands in some weird way. They want to be, they're basically impressionable minds, and some of the households don't want it to be soiled with a possible influence like that. Second of all, of course, is the rating itself is a deterrent. Up until Deadpool, PG and PG-13 movies would statistically make more money, making over $150 million, as opposed to the $45 million of R-rated movies, as the MPAA put out in a report this last year. That's basically because, you got the teenager. Consumers consumer demographic that spends money at the theater, maybe because of a first date, maybe because they don't have to worry about their 401k or mortgages or insurance. They just want to have a good time and go from there. Now, the sweet spot demographic is 18 to 39. It outsells theme parks and sporting event admissions combined more than 2 times over, probably because a family of 4 can purchase tickets and have a good time, and it's 4 times cheaper than a Major League Baseball tickets and food, and 10 times cheaper than NFL seats, which is usually just two people out of the family of 4 anyway that go to see it. Mom and dad can take the kids to see something like Finding Dory, which is coming up soon, but also escape the kids for a couple hours and watch Captain America, or even movies like Purge, Election Year, or The Conjuring 2. And, well, let's face it, those 8-year-olds will most likely see Deadpool by the end of the year on Netflix, on HBO, or on demand, or whatever. Just like I did when I was 8 years old, when I watched Animal House, Halloween, Jaws 2, thanks to the invention of the Betamax, and my curiosity in getting HBO, because my neighbor had kind of tapped into it and left the cable exposed, which kind of created this weird over-the-air channel for HBO. So I got to use the rabbit ears to adjust everything. It was a little bit fuzzy, but you know, you're 8 years old and you're watching Sharky's Machine, you're watching Saturday Night Fever and Smokey and the Bandit. You can't go wrong there. Now, getting back to the our hero movies, did Deadpool open up the door for future ideas? I think they definitely did. It's already got David Ayer to rewrite parts of Suicide Squad. It might also give Margot Robbie her own movie in the future. That could shore up the female movie going demographic, because females actually go to, or women go to movies more than men. So, once Disney bought Lucasfilm and said that they were going to make more side stories for Star Wars, I was excited, because I thought, okay, this is a chance for them to come and get in grit and do this type of situation. They need to work with somebody like HBO or Showtime and create a series, not just a movie, but a series. Now Rogue One's a good series, and of course it's going to be PG, but these series have got to have the more grit. Following a Jedi, such as Yoda, or some other Jedi, or a bounty hunter like Boba Fett, to tell a darker story around the long ago in a galaxy far, far away type situation. Fans would really appreciate the more teeth-bitier show with very controversial plot lines, because you're not going to be sitting there going, well, we can't really shoot this person and show them die. You can kind of do a scene like with Hodor in Game of Thrones, but not as much. You need to do that. And I'm hoping that they will look at this and say, we need to do that. So, and this would open some ideas considered too risky for production. Movies that were made kind of tamer, and now they can go into good production. Like, for instance, The Toxic Avenger, perfect 80s movie, cult classic that could be revived and brought with a little bit more teeth. RoboCop was a perfect example. That was also a little bit more edgier of a movie from the 80s. The newer version was good, but it was still sterilized a little bit. In 2010, IFC director James Gunn brought the movie Super, which starred Rainn Wilson, Ellen Page, Liv Tyler, and Kevin Bacon. Story was about how a guy became a superhero to get his wife back from Kevin Bacon. That was the same year that Kick-Ass was also released, which did get an R rating, and because it basically used the F word about 86 times, not to mention all the violence in there. And some extremely violent scenes, of course, were taken out just to give it to that R rating, from what I understand. But look at how popular that movie got over time. Now, I just walked around San Francisco and learning how Alfred Hitchcock was too edgy for his time 50 years ago. Imagine the types of stories that Alfred Hitchcock would tell if he was alive today. Do you think Hitchcock would worry about a few F words? Do you think that he'd sterilize the birds? Could you imagine the birds recreated nowadays? by Alfred Hitchcock, but not by anybody else. Nobody else gets to recreate The Birds. Nobody else gets to recreate Vertigo or any of those other movies. But think about it. If he was alive today, how much more grittier would that movie be? Better question is, will Deadpool be noted as The Birds or what The Birds in Vertigo was 50 years from now? Think about that. Anywho, that does it for this episode of Morning Geeks. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. We had about 14 people on the live show. And of course, you can watch this afterwards up on Facebook at facebook.com/Geekazine, over at YouTube, youtube.com/Geekazine, and then, of course, at Geekazine.com, Think Magazine put into Geek. That's my Twitter handle. That's my email. You can contact me there. You got some pictures that you want to show me some of your geeky stuff. Show me some of your geeky videos. If you've got something that you want to report, like Opium Den, let me know. Keep it as clean. You know, we've got to keep on the PG level here, unfortunately. But if you keep it clean, send me the video, send me an email, and I'll tell you exactly where you can shoot up the video. Send up the video with Opium Den. Send up the video, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. My name is Jeffrey Powers. You guys geek out. I hope we started your morning right with enough coffee and enough excitement and a little bit of news for the geek here. And we'll see you next time. Geek out, folks, and take care.